In 1956, a steelworker's wife in Gary, Indiana, ran a household of 7 on $63 a week. Her rent was $47 a month. Her grocery bill never broke $14. She put $6 into a coffee can every Friday, and she did not miss a week for 11 years. She was not remarkable. Every woman on her block did the same thing. They ran their homes like quiet businesses, and they left no paper trail because none of it seemed worth writing down. They managed a household differently, not with subscriptions or gadgets, but with small, repeated acts that kept money from leaking out of a house 1 cent at a time. Every rag, every jar, every scrap of foil had a job. We threw that knowledge away. Not because it stopped working, but because we stopped wanting to look like the kind of people who needed it. Convenience arrived, and a generation of practical wisdom was filed under old-fashioned and forgotten. Number 18 on this list saved the average 1950s family more than $200 a year, and it took 5 minutes a week. Number 12 was so common in working-class homes that nobody bothered to teach it. Children simply watched their mothers do it for 20 years. And number 2, the single household habit that kept more American families out of debt than any government program is now being rediscovered by efficiency experts who think they invented it. These 25 hacks were not about being cheap. They were about being in charge of your own 4 walls. Hit that subscribe button. Let us count down the 25 forgotten poor man household hacks from the 1950s that saved families thousands. Number 25. The rag drawer. Every kitchen in 1954 had one drawer that held nothing but old cloth, worn shirts, torn pillowcases, the good parts of a dress that could no longer be mended. Nothing was purchased to clean the house. When a dish rag frayed, it became a dusting cloth. When that wore thin, it became a shoe polish rag. A family of 5 in Cleveland never bought a paper towel for an entire decade. Paper towels cost 19 cents a roll and lasted a week. An old undershirt cost nothing and lasted 4 years. The rag drawer was not clutter. It replaced an entire aisle of the grocery store. Number 24. Ironing water from the radiator. A housewife in Buffalo in 1957 did not buy distilled water for her iron. She set a clean jar on the radiator in winter and caught the condensation that ran down the pipes. It was free and pure, and it kept the iron from scaling for years. Distilled water cost a nickel a bottle. A nickel a week across the winter added up to $1.30, the same as a pound of butter, a loaf of bread, and a can of coffee. The radiator was already working. She asked it to do 2 jobs. Number 23. Washing windows with newspaper. A woman in Philadelphia cleaned every window in her 3-story row house with yesterday's newspaper and a splash of vinegar. Newsprint ink was a mild abrasive, and the paper left no lint. The vinegar cut grime. Commercial cleaner cost 22 cents a bottle. She cleaned 40 windows twice a year for 1 cent. Her neighbor spent $4, not cleaning, extracting a second life from something that had already done its work. A ceramic jar sat on the back of every American stove in 1952. Every time bacon was cooked, the fat was poured through cheesecloth into that jar. That grease fried the morning eggs, it seasoned the greens, it flavored the evening's potatoes. A family that cooked with saved grease bought half as much oil. Vegetable oil cost 34 cents a bottle. Half a year of oil recovered from fat that would have gone in the trash. The fat was not waste. It was the second paycheck from a pound of bacon. Number 21. The Sunday night laundry sort. Every Sunday evening, a mother in St. Louis laid out the family's clothes for the week on the dining room table. She checked every hem, every button, every loose seam. A torn seam found on Sunday cost 30 seconds of thread. The same tear found on Wednesday, after the damage had spread, cost a replacement shirt. 20 minutes on Sunday saved roughly $18 a year, enough for a new winter coat for a child. Number 20, the single cake of soap. A senior woman in rural Georgia kept 1 bar of ivory soap in the bathroom. When it got down to a sliver, she pressed it against the next new bar while both were wet. By morning, the 2 bars had fused. A family of 6 went through 18 bars a year. With the fusion method, they used 14. 4 bars at a dime apiece came to 40 cents, equal to 2 dozen eggs. The sliver was not trash. It was 40 cents, hiding in the shape of a scrap. Number 19, the mason jar pantry. A housewife in Iowa in 1958 kept every empty jar and tin that entered her kitchen. Flour, sugar, rice, beans, and cornmeal went into those jars the moment they came home from the store. Glass kept moisture out. Glass kept bugs out. Food stored in paper bags went bad in 6 weeks. Food in glass lasted 2 years. Her pantry spoilage rate was under 1%. Her neighbor threw out 8% of what she bought, $11 a year in flour alone. Number 18, the weekly pantry inventory. Every Friday morning, a woman in New Jersey took a pencil and wrote down every item in her pantry and icebox. She wrote her grocery list from that inventory, not from memory. She never came home with a second can of tomatoes when 3 were already on the shelf. 5 minutes on Friday saved her $8 a month in duplicate purchases. That was $96 a year, 2 months of rent in 1956. The list was not the savings. The inventory was the savings. Number 17, the cold pantry. A bricklayer's wife in New Hampshire in 1954 built her own root cellar in a corner of her basement. She used a wooden crate, a few inches of sand, and a thermometer. Potatoes, onions, apples, and squash kept for 4 to 6 months without a single kilowatt. In the fall, she bought a bushel of potatoes for 89 cents. It lasted until March. Her neighbor, who bought 5 pounds a week at the grocery, spent $11 on potatoes over that same winter. The cold corner was already doing the work of a refrigerator. She simply recognized it. Number 16, turning the mattress. Every 3 months, a couple in Omaha in 1955 flipped their mattress end over end. 4 times a year, it was marked on the kitchen calendar. A mattress turned quarterly lasted 15 to 20 years. A mattress left in one position sagged in 4 years. A new mattress cost $39, nearly a full week's pay. 5 minutes every 90 days bought an extra decade of sleep. Nobody called it maintenance. They called it Sunday. Number 15, the draft snake. A woman in Chicago sewed a tube of scrap fabric, stuffed it with rice, and laid it at the base of every outside door in the house. The snake blocked the cold air that seeped under the door in winter. A house with snakes at every exterior door cut its winter fuel by 7%, roughly $14 during a cold winter. The scraps cost nothing. The rice was already in the pantry. 2 weeks of groceries recovered from a strip of cloth. Number 14, the 2-bucket dishwashing method. A farm wife in Nebraska did not run the faucet to wash dishes. She filled 1 bucket with hot, soapy water and 1 with cool rinse water. Dishes were washed in the first, rinsed in the second, then air-dried on a wooden rack. A running tap used 9 gallons. 2 buckets used 2 gallons. The method cut the cost of dishes by 80%. The water was not the point. The attention was the point. Number 13. Resoling shoes. A working man in Pittsburgh wore the same leather work shoes for 9 years. He did not wear them out. He replaced the soles 3 times. A new pair cost $7.50. A resole cost 85 cents. He spent $2.55 instead of $22.50 over a decade. Multiply that by 7 family members, and the resole habit alone saved the household over $100 a year. Good leather was not disposable. The sole wore out. The shoe did not. Every Monday morning, before the laundry went in the tub, a mother in Detroit inspected each piece. Mending a small tear before washing took 2 minutes. The same tear thrown in the machine became a large tear. A large tear was often beyond repair. A shirt caught at the mending stage lasted 2 more years. A shirt caught after the wash lasted 2 more weeks. Not superstition, the difference between a shirt that cost $2 and a shirt that cost nothing. Here is something almost no one talks about. In 1955, the average American household spent roughly 41% of its income on food, housing, and clothing combined. Today, that same category accounts for less than 35%. We should, by every rational measure, feel wealthier. We do not. The reason is not inflation. The reason is that the 1955 household produced most of what it needed inside the home itself. Meals were cooked from raw ingredients. Clothes were mended. Cleaning was done with rags and vinegar. The house was a small factory that turned pennies into goods most families now buy pre-packaged. We outsourced the factory. We called that outsourcing progress. What it really was a transfer of work from our own hands into someone else's price tag. The 1950s housewife was not unpaid. She was paid in everything her family did not have to buy. Number 11. The weekly menu written from the pantry. A woman in Oregon sat down every Sunday afternoon and wrote out the coming week's dinners. She did not write what she wanted to eat. She wrote what the pantry already held. Tuesday was ham and beans because a bone was in the icebox. Wednesday was potato soup because potatoes had sprouted. She bought groceries to complete the menu, not to build it. Her weekly run averaged $9. Her neighbor, who shopped without a menu, spent $14. $5 a week across a year was $260, nearly a month of rent. The pantry wrote the menu. She took dictation. A housewife in Miami in 1956 did not own an electric dryer. Very few working-class families did. She strung a line between 2 poles in the backyard. Sun-dried clothes smelled cleaner. Whites were whiter. The ultraviolet light killed bacteria no machine could reach. The cost was $0. An electric dryer, run 5 times a week, added $4 a month to the bill. $48 a year, almost a full week's pay. The sun had always worked for free. A mother in rural Vermont kept a wooden darning egg in her sewing basket. When a child's sock wore through at the heel, she stretched it over the egg and rewove the hole with wool thread. A darned sock lasted another 6 months. Children's socks cost 15 cents. Darning wool cost 5 cents and mended 30 socks. She darned for 6 children for 20 years and estimated the habit saved her family close to $200. The hole was not the end of the sock. It was a small event in the middle of a long life. Number 8. Making bread instead of buying it. A woman in Tennessee baked 2 loaves every Wednesday. Flour, water, yeast, salt, and a few minutes of kneading. A store loaf cost 18 cents. A homemade loaf cost 4 cents. 2 loaves a week for a year saved $14.50, enough to buy a new winter coat for a child, paid for in flour and yeast. Bread was not a product. Bread was a Wednesday. Number 7. The shared telephone line. In 1954, a party line, shared with 3 or 4 neighboring households, cost $3.50 a month. A private line cost $7.25. A widow in rural Michigan kept the party line for the entire decade. She waited her turn. She kept her calls short. She saved $45 a year on telephone service alone, a month of groceries for one person. The private line was a luxury. The party line did the same job. Number 6. The homemade cleaning solution. A grandmother in Missouri kept a bottle of ammonia, a jug of vinegar, and a box of baking soda under her kitchen sink. Nothing else. Ammonia cleaned glass. Vinegar cut grease and descaled the tea kettle. Baking soda scrubbed the tub and deodorized the icebox. 3 ingredients cost 40 cents combined and lasted a year. The woman next door, who bought branded cleaners for every surface, spent close to $8. 3 ingredients, 1 cupboard, 1 year of clean. A man in rural Alabama did not replace a torn window screen. He patched it with a square of scrap screen and 4 dabs of clear lacquer. A patched screen kept mosquitoes out as well as a new one. A replacement cost $3.75. A patch cost less than a penny. He patched the same 4 screens on his back porch for 11 years. The tear was small. The replacement was not. He matched the repair to the size of the problem. Number 4. Cooking once, eating 3 times. A mother in Wisconsin roasted 1 whole chicken on Sunday. Sunday dinner was roast chicken. Monday it became chicken sandwiches. Tuesday they made soup from the carcass. 1 chicken, 3 dinners. Total cost in 1955, 89 cents. Per person, per meal, 6 cents. A family that ate 3 separate meats across those days spent $3.50 for the same number of dinners. She was not cooking 3 times. She was cooking once and letting the meal keep working. Every Friday evening, after the paycheck was cashed, a husband and wife in Akron, Ohio, sat at the kitchen table with an envelope of money and a small notebook. Rent first. Utilities second, groceries third, savings fourth. What remained was the week's pocket money. They never argued about money during the week because every question had already been answered on Friday. Most financial disagreements in a marriage happen because 2 people have different pictures of the same money. They had the same picture. They had drawn it together at the same table every week for 31 years. Every Sunday after dinner, a mother in Connecticut spent 1 hour preparing for the week. She baked the week's bread, she washed the vegetables, she boiled a dozen eggs, she ironed the uniforms, she laid out the clothes. The women on her street who didn't have a Sunday hour spent 45 minutes every weekday morning in chaos, searching for socks, frying eggs, and reheating leftovers. That adds up to 4 hours a week. She spent 1 hour. She saved 3 hours. Money saved by not stopping for fast food, not replacing lost uniforms, and not buying convenience items at a corner store averaged $7 a week. Across a year, that totals $364. More than 1 month of rent. 1 hour on Sunday, 1 month of rent. Number 1. Using everything twice. The simplest hack on this list, the quietest, the one most completely abandoned. A housewife in 1956 did not throw a thing away until it had done at least 2 jobs. The coffee grounds went onto the garden. The jelly jar became a drinking glass. The bread bag became a sandwich wrap. The cotton sugar sack became a dish rag, then a cleaning rag, then a garden tie. She did not call it recycling. She did not call it frugality. It was how a household was run. A woman who used every object twice paid for half of what a woman who used every object once paid for. The savings were not found in any single item. They were found in the habit of asking one question before any object left the house. Is there one more job in this? The steelworker's wife in Gary, Indiana, ran her household of 7 on $63 a week for 11 years. She was not lucky. She was not exceptional. She was attentive. She looked at every object and every dollar and asked what more it could do before it was finished. These 25 hacks were not poverty habits. They were the distilled discipline of a generation that understood one thing clearly. A home is not a place where money is spent. A home is a place where money is kept. We traded that understanding for convenience. The convenience has not been kind. The rags are still in the closet. The jars are still in the recycling bin. The sun is still free. The Sunday hour is still there. Only the habit has faded.